Unix operating system. Operating system. The operating system is a program with the following features. An operating system is a program that acts as an interface between the software and the computer hardware. It is an integrated set of specialized programs used to manage overall resources and operations of the computer. It is specialized software that controls and monitors the execution of all other programs that reside in the computer, including application programs and other system software. Unix operating system. Unix is an operating system which was first originally developed in 1969 by a group of employees and has been under constant development ever since. By operating system, we mean the suite of programs which make the computer work. It is stable, multi-user, multitasking system for servers, desktops and laptops. Unix system also have a graphical user interface similar to Microsoft Windows, which provide an easy to use environment. Unix was first programmed in assembly language but was reprogrammed in C in 1973. There are many different versions of Unix, although they share common similarities. The most popular varieties of Unix are GNU Linux and Mac OS. Linux. Linux is an operating system or a kernel. It is distributed under an open source license. Its functionality list is quite like Unix. Linux is an operating system or kernel which germinated as an idea of the mind of young and bright Linus Torvalds when he was a computer science student. He used to work on Unix OS, proprietary software, and thought that it needed improvements. However, when his suggestions were rejected by designers of Unix, he thought of launching an operating system which will be receptive to changes, modifications suggested by its users. And as time passed by, he collaborated with other programmers in places like MIT, and applications for Linux started to appear. So around 1991, a working Linux operating system with some applications was officially launched, and this was the start of one of the most loved and open source operating system options available today. Earlier versions of Linux were not so user-friendly as they were used by computer programmers, and Linus Torvalds never had it in mind to commercialize his product. This definitely curbed the Linux popularity as other commercial-oriented operating systems. Nevertheless, the open source aspect of the Linux operating system made it more robust. The main advantage of Linux was that programmers were able to use Linux kernel to design their own custom operating system. With time, a new range of user-friendly operating systems stormed the computer world. Now, Linux is one of the most popular and widely used kernel, and it is because it is the backbone of popular operating systems like Debian, Ubuntu, etc. Nevertheless, the list does not end here, as there are thousands of operating systems based on Linux which offer variety of functions to the users. Linux kernel is normally used in combination of GNU project by Dr. Richard Stallman All modern distributions of Linux are actually distributions of Linux GNU. Linux operating system. Linux is one of popular versions of Unix operating system. It is open source as its source code is free available. It is free to use. Linux was designed considering Unix compatibility. Its functionality list is quite similar to that of Unix. Next, benefits of using Linux. Being open source, anyone with programming knowledge can modify it. The Linux operating system now offers millions of programs, applications to choose from, most of them free. Once you have Linux installed, you no longer need an antivirus. Linux is highly secure system. More. So there is a global development community constantly looking at ways to enhance its security. With each upgrade, operating system becomes more secure and robust. Linux is the operating system of choice of server environments due to its stability and reliability. Companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Google use Linux for their servers. A Linux-based server could run non-stop without a reboot for years on end. Users who are new to Linux usually stun it by falsely considering it as a difficult and technical operating system to operate. To state the truth, the last few years, Linux operating systems have become a lot more user-friendly than their counterparts like Windows. So, trying them is the best way to know whether Linux suits you or not. There are thousands of Linux-based operating systems. Most of them offer state-of-the-art security and applications, all of it for free. Next, components of Linux system. Linux operating system has primarily three components. First one, kernel. Kernel is the core part of Linux. It is responsible for all major activities of this operating system. It consists of various modules and it interacts directly with the underlying hardware. Next, system library. System libraries are special functions or programs using which application programs or system utility access kernel features. These libraries implement most of the functionalities of the operating system and do not require kernel modules code access rights. System utility. System utility program specialized individual level tasks are responsible to do features of Linux operating system. Portable. Portability means software can work on different types of hardware in same way. Linux kernel and application programs supports their installation on any kind of hardware platform. Open source. Linux source code is freely available and it is community-based development project. Multiple teams work in collaboration to enhance the capability of Linux operating system and it is continuously evolving. Multi-user. Linux is a multi-user system, means multiple users can access system resources like memory, RAM, application programs at same time. Multiple programming. Linux is a multiple programming system, means multiple applications can run at same time. Hierarchical file system. Linux provides a standard file structure in which system files, user files are arranged. Shell. Linux provides a special interpreter program which can be used to execute commands of operating system. It can be used to do various types of operations called application programs, etc. Next, security. Linux provides user security using authentication features like password protection, controlled access to specific files, encryption of data. Flavors of Linux operating system comes in many different flavors. The basic system is the same, but look and feel and the subsystems around it are different. Each version is produced by different organizations with its own ethos and aims. The result is a unique version of Linux, which is aimed at slightly different set of users. Next, Debian. Debian is regarded as the largest Linux distribution to date in terms of users. It is renowned for its stability and quality and its interoperability with other software. It has a very large following, over 28,000 packages you can add to it. It is very stable and friendly. Ubuntu, seemingly the most popular distro out in the world right now. Since it released in 2004, it is another good quality stable release that is very user friendly. Next, the architecture of Linux operating system consists of the following layers. Hardware layer. Hardware consists of all peripheral devices, RAM, HDD, CPU, etc. Kernel. It is the core component of operating system. Interacts directly with hardware and provides low level of services to upper layers of component. Shell. An interface to kernel hiding complexity of kernel's functions from users. The shell takes commands from users and executes kernel's function. Utilities. Utility programs that provide functionalities of an operating system. The user most of the difference between Linux and Unix. Linux can be freely distributed, downloaded freely. Distributed through Unix. Different flavors of Unix have different cost structures according to vendors. There are priced versions of Linux also, but they are normally cheaper than Windows. Linux is developed by open and source development, that is distribution through sharing and collaboration of code and features through forums, etc. And it is distributed by various vendors. Unix systems are divided into various flavors, mostly developed by various commercial vendors and non-profit organizations. Linux is an example of open source software development and free operating system. Thank you.